Welcome to the realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Enjoy listening. Nepra was no ordinary being. With her turquoise skin that shimmered under the dim lighting of her ethereal home, and her flowing platinum hair framing a face so perfect it seemed sculpted, she was a vision of alien beauty. Her striking appearance was only enhanced by her deep, enigmatic eyes, which seemed to hold galaxies within them. She was a dedicated member of her species, assigned to the peculiar yet prestigious task of assisting Earth's greatest scientists during their stay in her world. Her current assignment was Zach Weatherford. Zach, a renowned astrophysicist, had joined an elite team of Earth's finest minds on a groundbreaking mission to an alien planet. The purpose of their visit was unprecedented: to forge an alliance with the alien civilization and explore ways to combine their strengths for the betterment of both worlds. The discussions had been fruitful, with both parties agreeing that cooperation was the way forward. By the end of the day, the Earth scientists were escorted to individual residences prepared meticulously for them by their alien hosts. Zach's assigned residence was breathtaking, a masterpiece of alien architecture. The walls seemed to pulse gently with a soft glow, responding to his presence. The furniture was crafted from materials he couldn't begin to identify, blending functionality with art in a way that seemed almost magical. Every detail of the house was both alien and awe-inspiring. As Zach explored the house, marveling at its wonders, a faint sound echoed from deeper within the residence. His curiosity piqued. He followed the noise until he found himself face-to-face with Nepra. Clad in a sleek, form-fitting uniform that resembled a modernized version of a maid's outfit, she stood poised and calm, her piercing eyes locking onto his. For a moment, Zach was taken aback. Her beauty was otherworldly, captivating in a way that was almost distracting. Yet, his scientific mind warned him to stay cautious. "Who are you?" Zach asked, his voice steady but laced with suspicion. "I am Nepra," she said in a melodic tone. "I've been assigned to assist you during your stay. Whatever you need, I am here to provide." Though her words were reassuring, Zach remained skeptical. What if she was more than a helper? Could she be an agent sent to monitor him, or even a threat in disguise? Deciding to test her, Zach asked her for a series of tasks ranging from mundane to complex. To his surprise, Nepra completed each one with effortless precision and grace. As the evening wore on, Zach's initial suspicion began to melt away. There was something about Nepra that intrigued him beyond her appearance. She was attentive, intelligent, and seemed genuinely interested in his comfort. Eventually, he allowed himself to relax. Sitting together in the living area, Zach found himself drawn to Nepra in a way he hadn't anticipated. "You're remarkable," he said, his words uncharacteristically hesitant. Nepra tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "Remarkable can be dangerous," she replied, her tone suddenly serious. "Our interaction must remain professional. If anyone suspects otherwise, it could be catastrophic for both of us." Despite her warning, the tension between them was undeniable. Unable to resist the pull any longer, Zach leaned in and kissed her. It was a bold, reckless move, and Nepra stiffened in response. "We shouldn't," she began, pulling back. But Zach interrupted her. "No one will know. Let's keep this between us. Agreed?" Nepra hesitated before nodding, though her eyes betrayed a mix of fear and longing. As Zach placed his hands on her shoulders and began to massage them gently, she visibly relaxed, her guard slipping further. Turning to face him, she returned his kiss, this time with equal fervor. For a while, time seemed to dissolve as Zach and Nepra sat together, their conversation weaving through topics both profound and mundane. Zach found himself enchanted by the way Nepra spoke about her world. Her voice carried an almost musical cadence, and her descriptions painted vivid pictures of a civilization that valued harmony, innovation, and the delicate balance between their advanced technology and the natural beauty of their planet. Nepra, in turn, listened intently to Zach's stories of Earth. She was fascinated by his tales of sprawling cities, diverse cultures, and the relentless curiosity that had driven humanity to explore the stars. "Your people have such fire," she said, her expression softening. "You've faced so many challenges, yet you keep reaching for more. It's inspiring." Zack smiled, a warmth spreading through him. "And your people have achieved something incredible, balance. A connection to your world that we can only dream of. Maybe that's why we need each other. To learn from what the other lacks." Their conversation shifted to lighter topics, laughter punctuating their words as they shared small anecdotes and playful banter. Zack found himself inching closer to Nepra, drawn not just by her beauty but by the depth of her character. She wasn't merely an enigmatic alien. She was someone who understood him in a way few others had. "You know," he said, his tone thoughtful, "I've spent my life looking up at the stars, imagining what might be out there. But meeting you, it's like finding a part of myself I didn't know was missing." Nepra's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of turquoise, a response that seemed to mirror a human blush. "You shouldn't say things like that," she murmured, though her gaze didn't waver. "It makes this harder." "What's this?" Zack asked, leaning in slightly. Nepra hesitated, her eyes filled with a mix of longing and fear. "This connection, this feeling that shouldn't exist, it's dangerous, Zack. For both of us." Despite her words, the tension between them only grew. Zack reached out, gently brushing a strand of her platinum hair away from her face. "Sometimes," he said softly, "the most dangerous things are the ones worth risking everything for." Nepra looked as though she was about to respond when a distant sound broke through their moment. At first it was faint, almost imperceptible, but it grew louder and more urgent. Zack sat up, his senses sharpening as the serenity of the house gave way to something far more ominous. The sound became a blaring alarm, and bright red lights began flashing throughout the house. Nepra shot to her feet, her expression shifting to one of panic. "They've found us," she whispered, her voice trembling. Moments later, alien security forces burst into the room, their uniforms shimmering with the same bioluminescent glow that seemed to pulse through the walls of the house. Their tall, imposing figures exuded an aura of authority, their expressions a mix of shock, anger, and disbelief as they took in the scene before them. The lead officer, whose face was partially obscured by a translucent visor, stepped forward, his piercing gaze locking on Nepra. "You've violated the sanctity of your position," the officer said coldly, his voice resonating with an unsettling calm. "And you," he added, turning his attention to Zack, "have overstepped boundaries you cannot begin to comprehend." Nepra stood frozen, her turquoise skin paling slightly as her composure faltered. Zack, however, stepped between her and the advancing officers, his heart pounding. "Wait," he said, his voice firm but desperate. "This is a misunderstanding. She didn't do anything wrong. If anyone's to blame, it's me." The officers exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable, before the lead officer motioned for two of his subordinates. Without hesitation, they seized Nepra, their grip firm yet clinical. She let out a small gasp, her usual grace giving way to a vulnerable fragility Zack had never seen before. "Stop!" Zack shouted, lunging forward. His hands reached out to pull her away, but another officer intercepted him, a powerful yet non-lethal shock from a device on his arm sending Zack stumbling back. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Earthling," the lead officer warned. His tone carried a weight of finality that left no room for negotiation. Nepra turned her head, her shimmering eyes locking onto Zack's. "Don't fight them," she said softly, her voice steady despite the fear in her gaze. "You'll only make things worse for yourself." Zack ignored her plea, his mind racing. "You can't just take her. She didn't hurt anyone," he argued, his voice raw with emotion. "She was helping me. She was doing her job." The officer regarded him with an expression that bordered on pity. "You do not understand the gravity of your actions," he said. "You have disrupted the delicate balance of trust between our worlds." Nepra knew the risks. She chose to disregard them. Nepra winced at the words, as if they were a physical blow. Zack's chest tightened, his emotions boiling over. "This isn't trust, it's tyranny," he shouted. "You can't punish her for feeling something real." But his protests fell on deaf ears. As Nepra was escorted toward the door, she cast one last glance over her shoulder. "I'll be all right," she said, her voice barely audible. "Just don't let this break you." Zack surged forward again, but the guards were quicker. This time, they restrained him, their grip like iron as they dragged him toward the house's main exit. The vibrant glow of the home seemed to dim as he was forced outside, its warmth replaced by the sterile, cold light of the alien streets. He was marched toward awaiting transport, his mind a whirlwind of emotions, anger, regret, helplessness. He strained against the guards, his eyes searching desperately for Nepra, but she was nowhere to be seen. Inside the transport, Zack slumped against the seat, his fists clenching as he replayed the events in his mind. The journey back to the ship felt endless, every moment a painful reminder of what he was leaving behind. When he arrived at the Earth delegation's ship, he was met with stern faces and curt words. His superiors informed him that his actions had jeopardized the mission and that he was being sent home immediately. No amount of protest or explanation could sway them. As the ship left the alien planet's orbit, Zack stared out of the viewport, his heart heavy. The stars blurred together, their light a cruel reminder of the connection he'd lost. He thought of Nepra, her voice, her smile, the way she had made him feel seen in a way no one else ever had. Back on Earth, Zack's life unraveled further. Stripped of his position and reputation, he became a shadow of the man he once was. His colleagues avoided him, his work was dismissed, and the spark that had driven his passion for the stars was gone. Yet, through it all, he couldn't forget her. Nepra's image haunted his thoughts, her luminous turquoise skin glowing like a distant memory in the darkness of his mind. Her voice, soft and melodic, echoed in his dreams, calling out to him in fragments he could never quite piece together. Every night he relived their brief time together. The way she had looked at him, the weight of her touch, the unspoken words lingering between them. Zack spent countless nights staring at the stars, wondering if she was out there somewhere, staring back. Was she safe? Had she been punished for their forbidden connection? Did she ever think of him, even for a moment? The not knowing was the heaviest burden of all, a gnawing ache that refused to subside. He threw himself into his work, or what little of it he could salvage. Though he had been ostracized from the scientific community, Zack continued his research in private, poring over his notes and simulations in the dim light of his modest apartment. The walls were plastered with star charts, alien symbols, and sketches of technology he had glimpsed during his time on the alien planet. But at the center of it all was a single drawing of Nepra, her serene face captured in painstaking detail. It was the only portrait he had ever drawn, and it became his constant companion. The world around him moved on, indifferent to his torment. News of the mission had been reduced to a footnote, overshadowed by other developments. His former colleagues avoided him, and the rare encounters he had with them were cold and dismissive. Some even accused him of fabricating his account of Nepra, calling it a desperate attempt to justify his failure. But Zack knew the truth. Nepra was real. Their connection had been real, and no amount of skepticism or ridicule could erase that. One night, as he gazed out at the endless expanse of stars, he made a decision. If the world wouldn't believe him, if they wouldn't give him the resources to return, he would find another way. He began working tirelessly, using what scraps of alien technology he could replicate and combining them with Earth's advancements. His apartment became a makeshift lab, cluttered with parts and prototypes, every surface a testament to his determination. It was slow, grueling work, and success seemed as distant as the stars he longed to reach. But with every failure, Zack reminded himself of Nepra, of the way her eyes had softened when she spoke of her world, of the way her voice had trembled when she told him to stay strong. Weeks turned into months, and Zack's obsession grew. He slept less, ate only when he remembered, and spoke to no one. His mind was consumed by the thought of building something, anything that could bridge the impossible gap between their worlds. One evening, after countless hours of work, he finally powered up a rudimentary communication device. It was crude, untested, and based largely on guesswork, but it was his only hope. As he activated it, a faint, pulsating hum filled the room. The device emitted a low-frequency signal that he had designed to mimic the alien frequencies he had observed during his time on their planet. He waited, his heart pounding, but the device remained silent. Days passed, then weeks, and still, there was no response. Zach's hope began to wane, but he refused to give up entirely. The device stayed active, a beacon broadcasting his message into the void. "I'm here. I remember. Please let me know you're safe." But no reply ever came. As the years slipped by, Zach slowly came to terms with the reality he had tried so hard to deny. Nepra was gone, and whatever consequences she had faced were beyond his reach. He could only hope that wherever she was, she had found some measure of peace. Though the pain never fully left him, Zach learned to live with it, carrying her memory like a secret flame. He continued his work in private, using his knowledge to contribute anonymously to humanity's understanding of the cosmos. And every night, without fail, he would look up at the stars and whisper her name, as if the universe itself might carry his words to her. Nepra had been more than a fleeting encounter. She had been a glimpse of something extraordinary, a connection that defied the vastness of space and the barriers of their worlds. Though Zach would never see her again, she had left an indelible mark on his soul. In the end, Zach vowed to honor her memory by never forgetting the lesson she had taught him. That love, however improbable, was worth every risk,